Hey everyone, welcome to People, Their Passion and Purpose. I'm so excited to be here today with Kristi. She's my friend from Purium. We are, very obsessed with this one product that we use for our nutrition. And so we've gotten to know each other a little bit. And Kristi has it's just like a remarkable story. And I'll put down her handle, her Instagram handle so that you can follow her, especially the last reel that you made. I was like, literally blown away. It's putting it all together. So, um, I just want to acknowledge you and congratulate you for being like who you are and where you are and what you're doing. And it's extremely inspiring and like what a transformation. And I'm so happy you're here smiling and glowing like you are. So thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you for having me.
Um, I thought it might be a good idea to, let people know if you can introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about your situation that you're living in right now, and then if you'd like, as much as you'd like to share, and then maybe start to talk about, how it was for you growing up, and maybe a little bit even precursor to that, what you're feeling today, just a little bit, and then we'll get back into that.
Okay, well, I am a mother of three and I'm 55. I lost my mother last year, which changed the whole dynamic of the home. And this is now my home. And my daughter, that is pregnant, is going to come back and live with us. And there'll be 10 people in this house, which is going to be extraordinary adventure in itself with one bathroom. So,
Oh my
yeah, we're doing
goodness.
some remodeling, and my husband and I are gearing up to. We want to do some traveling together, and then we have the grandbaby that's going to be here in December, so it's going to be exciting, and I'm
It's a
excited. And the beautiful part of the story is I'm here to enjoy it, literally in the physical body that a body could enjoy it, not the.
we got stuck.
Um,
We lost you for a second.
okay, it says my
Yeah.
internet is a little unstable. Okay,
Yeah. So you were saying that and that's, you were saying something about being present, being here, actually
in this body,
enjoying it. Exactly. I said,
yes.
wow, like it's so much going on and you're actually here to enjoy and live it.
And
So,
yes, and like I said, it's the body that is just less sick than I was, less big. I feel more free, and
yeah.
my soul feels free. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the questions you were going to ask me was something like that. How did
Mm-hmm.
I feel when I would get up and move around?
Well, yeah,
And
like maybe tell everyone like where you're coming from, because no one, we don't really know. We don't, yeah. So
um,
let's go to the beginning of how you,
the beginning of Kristi is
mm-hmm,
I was 2 years old, diagnosed with asthma.
mm-hmm,
And this asthma was the type that was driven by allergies. So I was allergic to everything,
mm-hmm.
to the point where there was times that I never got to go outside a whole summer. My mother kept me in. She was very fearful. I'm the only child and I was adopted. So she really contained me. And, at that time of being two, there wasn't much out there for an asthmatic. There was no rescue inhalers, no breathing machines. Anytime I got sick, I just had to be rushed to the emergency room. So I was, in the emergency room so much that as I got older, I even wanted to be a respiratory therapist because I understood what they went through. A lot of fear associated with being rushed to the emergency room. My mother would really get geared up, be pressing my dad to speed there. She's going to die was thrown out. And I absorbed all that. And so a lot of fear with the asthma was there. And continuing on, they would try allergy shots, but because I was allergic to so much, they did not work and they would have to stop because I would just be in the office and start not being able to breathe after they injected me. So by the time I got about 16, that's when the rescue inhaler came out. And I was able then to try to do allergy shots again, only to be unsuccessful.
Mm,
and they would have to take me off because I was just allergic to too much. And
mm,
then by about, I'm gonna back up because about age 12 or 10, steroids came out, which was the
mm-hmm.
magic drug they said for asthmatics. And while it was considered that, they did not know the extent. And therefore, that's why it's not always great to take pharma because you think it's going to be something spectacular. And then
Mm,
it turns out to be detrimental to your health. And
mm.
so, 2 years from age 10 to 12, I was on steroids, and I was a very petite, skinny, sick little girl all the way to 12, 205 pounds. And my mother, like I said, kept me in, so I was bored. So she would buy me whatever I wanted, which was typical, Hawaiian punch, red juice, Chef Boyardee in a can, pickles. She just kept everything that could possibly make me happy because she felt bad that I was stuck in the house all the time. And so that started the dilemma of learning to boredom. Let's just eat and watch TV. That's what I
Right.
did. And
Wow.
then that just kept catapulting into a very vicious cycle of sinus infections, asthma, going to the hospital, just pneumonia, bronchitis. It just continued, and the steroids continued, antibiotics continued. So you can imagine from age about 12 to 16, I was already taking so much antibiotics. Um, and so much steroid inhalers, sinus steroid inhalers, so inhalers, steroids just flowing, and it
Y-
just puffed me up.
Yeah, it's
And
so different.
even in
It,
school, I wasn't allowed to do sports, so I was not in PE,
mm-hmm.
and so it just made for a bad disaster of a girl that could not move and getting steroids. I was just continually to get bigger and bigger.
It's so not who the Kristi that I know today is because you're constantly jumping on your trampoline. You're playing like great loud music, to get you going. You're eating your superfoods and you're very engaged in your life. So that's what I am so astounded by, that you were actually able to, because it takes like a mindset, it really takes your mind to like get yourself out of there. So I guess a good question right now would be, when you well, tell us a little bit about the transition into how you started to get to where you are today. And then I have some other things to ask you.
Um, well, also all in my 20s, I've
Mm.
been wanting to like get pregnant, and I was still, over 200 pounds, probably about 250, 260-ish. And I wanted to have a baby, and it just wasn't happening. So, where was I going with this?
Well, how like the transition into how you got to where you are today.
Okay. And the doctors, so I've seen multiple doctors, and they all said if you lose weight, it would just help you so much. And man, I was just like trying and trying. At age about 16, I found my first muscle and fitness magazine. And
Mm,
that's what kind of geared me into, oh, I
mhm,
want to be like that. And when I
mm.
tell you that, it's because I didn't see them and think, oh my God, of course, they're immaculate. And that's not even real. But it's that who works out all day like
Mm.
that, and the determination and day after day, and so committed to their eating and protocol. And so I was like, okay, I want to do this. And my mom bought
Mm.
me sets of weights, and I just hung pictures all over my wall of Miss Olympia and all that. And that's where I wanted. That's just what I
That's
wanted. And I was so far from that because anytime I would do weight training, it would lower my immune system, and boom, I'd get sick.
wow. Oh my goodness. We take our health for granted, you know? We do. So Kristi just froze for another second, but while she's frozen until she comes back. Okay, she's back, yeah.
Okay, so if you can
Wow.
imagine, I wanted to look that way, or at least be disciplined like that,
Mm,
and then sickness kept throwing itself at me, and I was getting sick. So I just, in my mind, I was going against an obstacle that I just could not seem to win, and so
right.
that mindset started to shift in that, in my 20s I kept trying, no success, hired trainers. She would Oh my gosh, if you would, she told me then, Kristi, if you ever get that eating under control, you're going to blast off, because I was even then that way.
Right.
And I would even get stuck in my head in the gym, because you're going to ask me a question about the trainer in a little bit. I would get stuck that my fat would, if she made me do any type of jumping, that fat, I could hear it pop, and that bothered me to the point where I'd be like, I don't want to do this exercise. I don't want nobody looking at me or hearing that. And she's like, nobody can hear that, mama. And so that kind of plays into why I became what I did, is wanting to help someone not be where I was. And of course, that's kind of what we do. We do things that we had a hard time with, and we conquer it. We want to help someone else conquer it.
A
Kind of like
hundred
what you're
percent.
doing with, your plants and your food
Yeah.
that you. But then when I got into my 30s, I had my first kid around 29, and that I had digestional diabetes with her. And
Mm,
then that led me to more weight gain. And then,
mm,
I had some problems with my eye. They wanted to do chemo on me because they said I had a tumor on my optic nerve. It turns
mm,
out I don't, all these years, and I never did chemo. I chose to
mm.
have another baby because they said, oh, you're not going to ever have kids again. And I was like, oh no, I can't just have one. I waited 10 years to have a baby. So that's when I had Sonia, which is my Down syndrome my sweet baby. Uh, and then I got lost weight with her, like 20 pounds. But then because it was so hard with her, because she needed open heart surgery, and my dad died 3 months before she was born. And so I just went higher. And
Right.
then I went to school to start respiratory therapy, like all my pre stuff. That was stressful with two kids and a special need. And then got pregnant again. Who would have knew I was going to be a,
Wow.
because it took 10 years to even get pregnant. So, yeah, I had her, and she really put the weight on me. I was at 298 when I got pregnant with her,
Okay.
and I was diabetic with them all, and diabetes never left after my last one. And she got me to 343,
Wow.
and
She
that's
got
where I
me,
stayed.
she got me to 343.
Got me
Wow.
there.
Right.
But I eat like crap. No, I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I just did not. I was hopeless, I would have to
Mm,
say. I felt
mm,
defeated. I felt overwhelmed being a big mom that has those kids, and a special needs kid,
mm-hmm,
and a husband and a mother. We all lived together here because my father had died. My mom had
mm,
never been alone. And so I just felt yuck. I mean, mentally, I felt yuck, but I still would try, because I did like P90X, which is a,
mm-hmm.
online program. I did that with Tony
I know
Horton.
it. Yeah.
I would just keep trying, and I had like the trainer and all that, but I could not get myself out of the loop. And so, doctors with my health was really bad, and I was going to an internal specialist. He was treating my diabetes, and he's like, you have to go back to an asthma doctor. And I'm
Mm,
like, I've been to them all my life. They've never done nothing. So what makes you think they can do something? He goes, but you're going to die if we don't
mm,
get you off these steroids. And he was the one that had told me in an office visit that every time I put the fork to my mouth, I'm killing myself. And I was about to let him go and just be like, I'll never come back to you. But I did keep going. And he did get me over to a doctor, which was Dr. Delott. And when I went in to see him, I was so skeptical and down, and he could tell. And he said, I know this is a struggle, and I know you're in a very hard place. And because I told him, I said, all these atomizers you got on this wall, all these signs, had all that, and nothing's ever worked. So I don't know what else new do y'all have. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I do have a few tricks if you'll just be patient with me. He said, I can tell you right now, I'm not a real big allergy. I mean, I'm not a big antibiotic doctor. I don't like to give it. And he said, I don't like steroids, not the pills. I'll give them in an inhaler or something because it's a different delivery, he said.
right.
And so I said,
Oh.
okay. I said, okay. And in a few months, I started to really see. I would call him and be like, look, my nose is stopping up. I can feel, um, all that. And he would be like, come in and see me. And he'd calm me down, but he never would give me steroids or nothing. If it did, it was like
Amazing.
small doses and stuff. And he said, you're going to need allergy shots. But he goes, you're nowhere near able to do it. And he goes, there
Wow.
is a medication, and it was so expensive, Charlene. I
Mm.
mean, like $5,000 a month. And I told him, I cannot.
Wow.
And he said, let my staff work with you, and we're going to see what we
Okay.
can do. And a company came in and bought it off for me, except for $5 per shot, which was 4 shots a month. And 1 year I had to be on that and then start inject allergy injections. And I made it all the way through to where they just take you off of them. And that was the biggest, like, wow, like, oh
That's
my God, I have a
incredible.
shirt that says I made it. That was the first time in all the years of the struggle of,
Wow.
and I didn't even tell you, I even had 3 sinus surgeries where they took polyps out and drilled in my head here with a drill. I had stitches of,
Oh, you
because the
never told me
allergies.
that.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
that's, and
You
you
amaze
asked
me.
me, you asked me why I'm over here. Why do I do what I do? It's because I don't ever want to go back to that. Never.
Exactly. Yeah. So when like you just amaze me. So now yeah, I ask you, well, because now I know that you even took a course on fitness to be a trainer, and which is incredible. And right, because you want to help people, um, do their best as well. Um, so tell me a little bit about how I want to talk about, I think you should let people know how you lost the weight. And then I think you also how you not stopped eating, but changed the way you thought about eating every time a fork came to your mouth, like that addiction, that like stomping down of the emotions. Um, and then like when you woke up in the morning, like how did you feel about yourself and how did you get yourself out of bed? Like those are the things that I find really fascinating.
How do I get myself out of bed
How
now
did you
that
get
I'm,
just before when it was so tough for you? Like what were you thinking? What was driving you? What
oh
was
my God,
driving you?
I can't explain. Only another asthmatic would understand that when you're taking breathing treatments in the middle of the night to be able to breathe, it ups your heart rate to where you are at a slow jog. And so you're laying there in the bed and your heart is racing and you cannot go to sleep. So there was so many nights that I didn't sleep, that I would go back to bed and try to sleep. But then when you have kids, it just compounds everything, because they
Yeah.
are early risers and they're ready to go and ready to eat. And a lot of
So,
times I would just wake up and I would be, oh, like, this is horrible. Like, my
yeah.
nose would still be so stopped up, and I would just right then start making breakfast. You just get in that mindset of like, this is it. This is my life, and this is horrible. And you
Okay.
just feel down. You feel defeated, and you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're just hopeless.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I haven't ever really talked about is the soul of Kristi. My soul kept crying out that this is not where you belong. Like, I never thought in a million, I'm telling you, the whole time, I've never felt like I belonged in her, that
Mm.
body. That was not me. This aligns with me. And it's not perfection. It never was being about perfected. It was about being free. And so now I feel like I'm the freest that I've ever been, yet I'm still working to be mentally freer, because it's all mental.
Yeah. So when you say free, yeah, it's interesting. When you say free, free from what? Like, what do you mean free? Talk about free. What does that mean to you?
Free from the heaviness of the body,
Okay.
free from the inflammation that my legs was just huge. I
Mm-hmm.
could poke in there and it would stay indented, and it just was hard to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was up to a 4X. I would wear
Mm-hmm.
men's shirts. I didn't even, at one point, I just quit trying to dress up. My
Mm-hmm.
mom would go and buy me clothes like at, the big shops. I hated the big shops, but
Mm-hmm.
Walmart kind of taxes out at about 3X. And
Mm-hmm.
I bypassed that. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I just
Mm-hmm.
hated to even like get up and dress up. I just brush my teeth, brush my hair, and move on. And as you see, like there was a picture of me at the Dairy Queen eating ice
Mm-hmm.
cream, and look at it. It just there's no joy there.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no joy in the face. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. The freedom of get me out of this prison. It was my
Mm-hmm.
prison.
Yeah.
And even now I feel like I don't know how when I see another human being walking around like that,
Mm.
I know I don't care how much you smile or nothing, inside you're dead. You're
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what I was wondering about the freedom. So it's from your body, but also um you just want to break free to live your life, to live like
Yeah. I
to
think
be able to move, to be able to
once you get
move.
the weight off and you start living, we're as humans, we're so geared to think that I'm going to get to this place and I'll be happy. And then I can't wait till I
Yeah.
get to that place and I'll be happy. But the truth is where you're at is your happiness
Mm-hmm.
has to be there. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started really like, okay, there is no
Mm.
happiness up there. It's just really right here. And no matter
Okay.
what you do, you're going to get over there and you're going to realize you still have to work to be happy on something. So let's learn to be happy now.
Right.
Hang on just a second. Let me tell my husband I'm on this call.
Yes. That's so interesting,
Honey, I'm on a
Um,
call, okay? I'm on a call in here, okay?
that's really interesting. You have
Just
to
let
be
me
your
know, babe.
happiest where you are now. You have to be your happiest where you are now. That's really,
Yes. And
that's a
and so
great.
that took me to the mental journey of
Mm-hmm.
spiritual, mental, it all kind of
Mm-hmm.
you're threefold. So you're physical, you're spiritual, so it's everything. And it started really starting to click within the last, even after you see my mother going down, you start thinking about death and how what is death, and I'm getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
It's okay. No problem.
Mm.
She's, for those of you who are listening but not watching, she's just drinking one of her cleanse drinks. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just the freedom
Working on
to
your
the
whole
whole.
self. Yeah, the whole self.
It's
It's
beautiful.
holistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you want to talk about how you lost the weight? What that
Yeah.
was like, what you went through?
Yeah. I was, online a lot. When you're big like that, you sit around, watch TV, watch people, and I started seeing people with weight loss surgery. Now, believe it or not, my doctors all pushed for me to have it way early on, and
Mm,
I tried, and my insurance never covered it. It was wrote into the insurance policy, so it was never going to be covered. And so I just kept telling my doctors, I can't afford that, I can't afford that. But by the time that I got where I was, and that was 2016 when I had that surgery, uh, I was in a very, very bad place. Like everything was starting to really take its toll on me, my health. And if the amount of food that I was consuming was just ungodly. And we would fight over food at the table because we was all wanting it, and I started looking at people that had weight loss surgery again, started really getting into it and trying to find out, okay, how much is it and how much would I have to do? And so I ended up listening to a lot of people and tried it one more time and went to a doctor here in Texas. His name's Dr. Plano. And that would, no, that's not Dr. Plano. It was another doctor, but
mm-hmm.
um, I just at that time had gotten my credit pretty good and put everything on credit cards.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you
And
went for it. Yeah.
because my cousin, I had already set up who was going to get my kids, like, who would help with my kids, with my husband, like who's going to come in and be a little bit of a mama to the girls.
Mm,
And they were like, what are you doing? Why are you talking like this?
mm,
And my cousin said, why don't you just go get the surgery? I said, I'm telling you, it's like $12,000.
mm,
I'm going to have to put it on a credit card and then I'm responsible to pay that. And
mm-hmm,
she said, but you'll be here.
mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
so that's when I started, going to the facility to get all the checks that I needed. And Even with my asthma being so bad, I ended up having to stay overnight in the facility, which is supposed to be a day surgery, but they didn't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I had that weight loss surgery. I had VSG, which where they take 80% of your stomach out and leave you with just a small baby stomach.
Wow.
And honestly, I told my husband, because my mother, she was against it. She was afraid I would die on the table. And my husband's like, I would go for it because if you can continue down this way, you're not going to be here.
Yeah.
And so I chose it and went with it and was scared because I didn't know it would work. I knew my desire for food was that strong.
Yeah.
And a lot of people still said they had some hunger, it depended.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
Luckily, when I, got in there and got going, they said whenever you come out, you'll be able to have some little cups of water just to make sure there's no holes in your stomach. And then
Yeah.
after that, you can get up. And I told my husband, I said, when I come out of that hospital door, I'll come out as an athlete. And if I drink that water and I am not hungry, I will fly to the finish line. And when I took that, she laid down three, and I thought, I'm going to hammer back all three, and they're Tylenol cups.
Yeah.
I took that one, and I thought I was going to be sick. Like, what
Mm.
is, I'm full. Oh my God. And there was
Mm-hmm.
no hunger. It's like something just cut that off for
Mm.
the first time in my life.
Yeah.
And, and I told my husband, I'm going to get up and walk. Let's go walk.
Yeah.
And we walked around the nurse's desk, and all I could think of was, my God, I am going to win this time. I'm
Oh,
going to win.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
I still can
amazing.
feel it. It gives me chills because, um, now I can eat a lot more. I eat a lot differently than I used to because that community tells you, your whey protein, that's what you need. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to get this. They want you to get in 60 to 80 grams a day. That's all you get, honey. There's no
Mm-hmm.
vegetables. There's nothing. You're drinking liquid all day for weeks. And so when I got home, we have a cul-de-sac, and I would just walk around the cul-de-sac, come back in, rest, get
Yeah.
back up. And I always had to carry a bottle with me full of protein,
Mm.
water, or whatever. And I would just drink. You just constantly, I had to have it in my hand because you have to get at least the 60 to 80.
Right.
And of course, it was coming off, girl. I have to tell you,
Wow.
I was already in ketosis, if you know what that means.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was in that, so that it was burning my fat like crazy. And so I was
Wow.
going down. And in that 1 month, I think I lost 30 pounds in my first month.
Wow.
And that was
What a
big.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I'd never done that.
amazing.
I'd never done that being the big girl. I might could get off, 2 pounds a week, but
Yeah.
never 30. And I'm just like, what
Right.
is happening? And
Right.
so after the first month of walking, the second month I got into our pool and started walking around there all the time and staying
Mm-hmm.
outside. I still didn't like to cook that much. I fixed my kids' stuff and then I get my butt out. I didn't want to be around food. I never went to the table and ate with no one
Okay.
just because it was too hard. And then once you
Mm.
see that day after day after day, that people are just eating and they're
Yeah.
grabbing and stuff, I get to where it kind of made me nauseated to see. I'm like, God, that's the way I was. That's
Right.
horrible. You know,
Wow.
two and three plates for me.
Right.
Always a pasta like bread. I would have three pieces of bread. Yes,
Wow.
Mexican food. The plates come out like that. I would eat that entire thing plus two bowls of chips on my own.
Wow.
Yeah. So it
I don't
was.
know what to say. Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
I
And
think
so
now
it's
even
such a
my
change.
yeah, I don't even go to fast food. It's garbage.
It's
So
garbage.
in July will be my 8th year since the surgery. So that's the continuation of how I did eat. I did low carb. That's what I chose. So I did a lot of dairy, meat,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and hardly no veggie. And
Wow.
then as I continued, my first goal was 100 pounds in 6 months. did it, nailed it. Then I knew I had the next year. I was giving myself
Mm-hmm.
1 year to get off the rest because it was getting harder, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to the gym, going to the gym. And did I like the gym? No, no.
Mm.
But it was what was going to save me. So in my mindset, I'm like, if I just keep going, I will get to where I need to be. And then
Wow.
along the way, the love affair began of the gym. And I felt peaceful there and empowered, strong. It just started pouring in. The more that I would go, the more of my, what do you call it, how I felt about myself, my confidence. It
Yeah.
was just up, 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 up. You couldn't have told me I wasn't beautiful, I wasn't cute. I didn't need nobody else to tell me that. I didn't need no validation anymore. I was validating myself, which is so empowering. And I think that's what women would like to get to, where they just always feel empowered by their own self love.
Yeah.
And then that part of me started my own self love of my body. But in the
Wow.
meantime, I went and had, my arm skin cut off, and there's nothing
Mm-hmm.
affected. It did not. You're even if you think in your mind, I'm gonna go have the skin took off and I'm gonna look amazing. That's
Mm.
a big myth. You might look cute. I look
Mm-hmm.
cute, but there is still
Mm-hmm.
imperfections. Look, I got one
Mm-hmm.
arm bigger than the other. It's
Mm-hmm. Wow.
so
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
yeah, there's inconsistencies.
Christy, we only have a couple of minutes left.
Yeah,
I feel like we have a lot more to talk about.
yeah,
So I feel like we're gonna get back on, and I'll post both interviews one after the other so we can have like a nice continuation.
yeah. That'd be great.
Because I think like you have a lot to say, and I think for people who are going through what you've been through, it'd be great for them to hear like the whole story, like now how you're feeling, now what you're doing. So sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. So I think before we go any further, because we'll have the rest of it on the next interview, I want to
Okay.
thank everybody so much for listening so far, and I can't wait to meet with Kristi again and tell you the rest of her story. I feel like this is like complete resilience, and really you just amaze me. So thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Charlene.
Yeah,
Love you, girl.
yeah, love you too.